Okay, the first thing we need to do is the cast on. Now I'm going to do the long tail cast on in rib. So since I'm doing a top down sock, we're going to start with the ribbing. So I've estimated my tail here for the amount of stitches I need for the pattern. Okay, so now something I think is really cool. This is already one stitch, right? I'm already draped over here, and I am going to leave this stitch here, and then I'm going to start with 2 knit stitches immediately. That way, where we join these together on the other side, it's actually between a piece of ribbing instead of where the 2 end. So I'll explain that more in a minute. So I'm going to hang on to this, and I'm going to just do we're going to cast on 1 knit stitch and then a second knit stitch, just like that. Okay, so now I have a regular, I've just got a drape stitch over here, and this one is a knit stitch and this one is a knit stitch. Now this is a 2x2 rib, so now I'm going to do 2 purl stitches. So I'm going to go up my finger, swoop under my thumb, back down my finger and out. This makes a purl stitch, okay? So I'm going to do 1 more. So I'm going to purl, cast on. Okay, there's 2. Now I'm going to do a knit cast on. Up the thumb, down the finger, down the thumb, pull. Up the thumb, down the finger, down the thumb, pull. Okay, now I need to do 2 purls from the outside, up the finger, down the thumb, down the finger, pull. 1 more, up the finger, down the thumb, down the finger, pull, just like that. Okay, so if you look at these, you can kind of see the difference here. These 2 are knits. They kind of look like purls, however, these 2 purl bumps right here are quite a bit more prominent. So this is a purl, these 2 are purls, these 2 are knits, and these 2 are purls. So I'm about to start 2 knits. So I'm going to continue in this manner onto my, I think these are 24-inch needles, 24-inch circular needles. I'm going to continue in this manner until I have all of the stitches cast on to just the 1 needle. And then I'll show you how we're going to divide them on the 2 so that we can do the magic loop. Okay, so I'm coming to the end, so I'm going to do a knit and a knit, and then because I started with a purl and then I started with 2 knits, this one is now going to be a purl. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on. So there's a purl here, and then there was the first purl that we did in the beginning because these 2 are knits here. So you can see that instead of starting knit, knit, purl, purl, knit, knit, purl, purl, so that the join is in between a set of knits and a set of purls, it's actually right between a set of purls. Okay, so that'll help hide that join when we join these together. So now we are going to knit, I chose a 2x2 rib for mine. We're going to knit in the round 2x2 rib. So I've put a divider right here in the middle of my cast on stitches. So I'm just going to slide all of this onto the cable. Okay. Then I'm going to very carefully fold my knitting right near that cable, and I'm going to kind of use my stitch marker to pull the cable out like that. Okay, so then what I can do now is push all of this up onto 1 needle, just like this, and then I can push all of this onto the other needle, basically. Okay, now you'll want to pull the needles out. This is a good way to get started. So we're just going to put everything on the needles like this, and we're going to spread them out. See how it's twisted? So now I can untwist it, and now I can kind of hold these together, and then I can turn them around to kind of go where I'm starting. So this is what magic loop is all about. Okay, so if I look here, I've got all my knots on the bottom here, and over here I want to push them down like this so there's not a twist in it. So getting going on the magic loop takes a little while because you got to, you know, everything's got to be all lined up. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now you can see that the needle with the yarn attached to it. Now I want to make sure I don't find my tail, so we'll throw my tail over there so that I know the difference. So you'll see that that guy, he's behind because I'm going to start knitting up here. Okay, so this yarn should be in the back needle because I'm going to start knitting here, and that's how I'm going to join the two together. Okay, so I'm actually going to knit on this front needle, so I'm going to grab it. Okay, I am only going to use the yarn from this particular needle. I don't need the needle in here. It was great that I got it all ready to go, and it is, you know, I've got the correct thing in the back and the correct one in the front. But now what I can do is I'm going to take this back needle with the yarn that's attached to it, and I'm just going to pull it out like this. Okay, and I'm going to continue to pull. Now let me show you what's happening over here. I have a loop here still. Okay, so there's the end of my knitting. I'm going to pull it like that, so my loop is still there, but now I have enough slack where I can take this needle and I can turn around and I can knit with it. Okay, so we don't really care what's going on in the back now. We just care about what's going on here. Now, if you remember, this first one is a purl, so I actually have to purl it. So let's find my yarn that's attached back here. I'm going to put this behind it because it needs to be in front. So I'm going to go like this. Okay, now way down here is my yarn. Okay, so I'm going to pull it. And I'm going to pull that cable up here. So see, I'm stretching it from way down there, way up here, and I'm going to pull it nice and tight. I'm going to do a really tight purl like this, and then I'm going to pull it even further like this. So see how the two are together? Now remember, we've got a little loop down here. Okay, these two are joined right here because we cast on together. Now we're joining them in the round this way. I'm going to do my purl stitch like this. And I'm going to slip it off very carefully. Now I'm going to move my yarn between the two to the back. Okay, now we are joined in the round. So now I know these next two are knits. So I'm going to start knitting. Okay. And then I'm going to do a purl here. 2 purls in a row, just like that. Okay, and then we're going to do knits. So you can see this is just a normal rib. We're just doing it on this weird set of needles here. So let's see, that was 2 knits. I'm going to do 2 purls. I'm going to do this until I get all the way across this row, and then we are going to, I'll show you how to turn around after you've gotten all the way across this row, how to turn around and go across the other side like that. Okay, so let me get to the end of this row. Okay, so I'm getting to the end here. I do these last 2 knits, and then since these are separated, this last one is a purl. Okay, got it. Okay, so now I'm going to let this needle go. Okay, so the rest of it looks like this. Okay, now we have a little separation down here, but don't worry, we can always mitigate that. That's not a problem. So now we're just going to turn it around like this. Okay, so now this needle that we just worked is going to be in the back. Okay, we can let our tail hang. So the first thing we want to do is we just want to shove this cable through these stitches and just kind of get these stitches all back on this needle here so that you will have 2 needles full of stitches. Okay, so there we go, we've got that. Okay, now this guy needs to go in the back. So if I look at like this, then that's in the back, right? And this needle here is in the front. Okay, so I just want to spread these out. I want to make sure that we don't have any twists. See how all the knots, I'm kind of making them face each other. That looks pretty good. Okay, so now this guy goes in the back. I'm going to work on this needle here. So I'm going to hold on to this needle and we're going to work across this one. We know we've done this one because the yarn is already attached to it right here. So we don't need this needle now. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull it out of here just like this. I'm going to get my loop as small as I can down there at the bottom without it pulling out. Now I have plenty of room to bring this into the front. Now my first stitch is going to be a purl, remember. Of course it'll be easier once you get going because you'll be able to see it. So let's see, let me get my yarn in front here. Okay, so my yarn is in front. Now I'm going to do a purl like this. And again, there was a little bit of separation there, so I'm just going to wrap nice and tight, give it a little bit of a tug, and then I'm going to get my purl just like this. Okay, move my yarn to the back. And now these two are going to be knit stitches just like this. Okay, I'm going to move my yarn to the front and I am going to purl like this. Purl these 2 stitches. Okay, so when you're right in the middle of a row, everything looks pretty funky. So if I just kind of set this down for you to look at, you can see that I've got a big loop over here and I also have a pretty big loop over here, okay? But the whole point is all you need to pay attention to is the needles you're holding in your hand. You're knitting from this one onto this one. All of this mess can just hang out there. You're just going to continue in this manner going around and around and around until your cuff is the desired length in your 2x2 rib. So I'm going to go for maybe about 1.5 inches. And then I'll see you back here so that we can start the pattern for the sock.